welcome back to our discussion of CSS. In the previous video, we talked about background image and the properties involved with background image. Let's back up just a moment and talk about background color and color in general in CSS. We talked about units with the size of things like ems and rems and centimeters and millimeters, but also like color is its own value, and it has its own kind of unit system built in, or colors, units. I don't know, color, I don't know what you call them, like the ways of setting the color, right? There's probably a word for that I'm not thinking of. Anyway, let's talk about it, right? So the first option is hex color. So a hex color has 6 values and it begins with the hash mark. The first 2 values represent the amount of red. The second 2 values represent the amount of green, and the last 2 values represent the amount of blue. Okay? So what about the letters? Like, what does that mean, right? Well, every digit here represents a number between 0 and 15. Okay? And so it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. Right? And so that allows us to use 6 digits to represent millions of values, right? If each digit here wasn't worth 16, then we'd have to have a much larger number to express the colors, or we'd have fewer colors to express the range of values available. Okay? So this is hex color. Just as a note, you can display the hex colors in a couple ways. So let me actually get my Zen Garden page right here, and let's say I want to set the color of the H1, right? So I kind of have it set to this color here. Maybe I'll comment that out, and then I'll type in color is, and what I'm going to do is a hex color, and I'm going to type in FF0000, right? So this is red because I have 100% of the red, right? That's like 15, 15, right? Right, and then no green and no blue. Okay, if I change this and I put in 0, 0 and put the FF in the middle, then I'm going to get green, right? So this is 0 red, 100% of the green, and no blue, right? And we can do FF at the end here and 0, 0 in the middle, and then we'd get blue. Okay, and you can mix and match these, so it can be F76E90, I don't know, right? And I get kind of, actually those are, for just guessing, that's actually not a bad color. So anyway, so I get the color here, right? And if I hover over it in VS Code, they have a color picker, which is a really nice way to get the colors here. And you can see, like, as I move the color slider, all of the digits are kind of changing. So when I'm in the green zone, you can see like the green is staying as a high value, F7, and then as I get into the yellow, the green will start to go down, and then the red will go up high, right? And the blue will go down. But it's really hard to tell what color you're going to get, right? Just higher digits in the red, green, and blue, you can kind of guess you're in the red, green, blue zone, right? Also, as I change the value here, the numbers are going to change, right? So anyway, so that's the hex color. You can shorten this if you have, like, if I did FF00 and 00 for red, you can shorten this to 3 digits. So you can say F00. So this is just like saying FF0000, right? Imagine each of the digits is doubled, okay? So that's a hex color, right? Let's take a look at RGB colors. So RGB colors are expressed this way. We say RGB, parentheses, and parentheses on the end, and then you have 3 values. The first is the amount of red, the second is the amount of green, and the third is the amount of blue, okay? So, if I was to express this one as an RGB color, actually I have one right here, then, this would be my RGB color right here, okay? Kind of a steel gray, okay? So if I hover over this, you can see that as I drag the slider up and down, the color, all the 3 values are changing, right? So the color is changing there, and if I drag the slider here, you can see they change also, okay? This slider here shows the alpha value, and actually there's an option here to make it RGBA and then a fourth value that represents the transparency of the color. So let's imagine like I make this kind of a dark blue, and then as I drag the slider down, let me actually save that. So there's my dark blue on the web page, and when I drag the slider down, watch the color change, right? So here you can see the color is changing because it's getting more transparent, and the checkerboard showing through is trying to show us that, right? So you can see that it's also changed the layout here to be RGBA, and then it's added a number here for the alpha. So the alpha can go from 1 to 0, right? So you could say 0.5 and it would be 50% transparent, okay? So that's RGBA. Let's take a look at what else we have, right? So we have HSL. So HSL is the same as RGB or Hex Color. It generates a color. It just does it in a different way with different numbers. Same colors, right? Just different numbers, okay? So HSL is stands for hue, saturation, and lightness, okay? So let me copy this, and I'll comment it out here, and I'll add another one. And I'm actually just going to switch this to, actually, well, maybe I'll just write it. So I'm going to do HSL, and then I'll say, what color do I want? And the color is expressed as like a color wheel. So it's expressed in degrees, and it goes from 0 to 360. So at 0 degrees, it's red, and at 360, you're at red again, okay? So this should be red, and then the second number is the saturation, so that H is hue, hue is the color, S is the saturation, and this is like, the saturation is like how much color you get, okay? So as you pull the saturation down, you just get the value, like the black or the white, right? So if your color is bright, you'll pull the color out, and you'll start to get like a light color, like a pastel, right, or a gray tinted color, right? Or you'll get a darker, like a black tinted color, okay? And then last is the lightness. So this is like how bright or dark your color is. If it's at 50%, there's no white or black added to the color. So if I type in the values here, 0, 100% saturation, 50% lightness, you can see the color picker shows me 100% red. So this was the same as that F00 color, right? If I turn up the lightness here, then I'm going to be adding white to the color, and you can see that the lightness goes up as I drag the little selector across here. If I drag it down, I'm adding black to the color, and you can see the last number starts getting smaller, right? So 0% lightness, and you're going to get black, right? Okay. As I drag across in here in the middle, you can see it adjusts the saturation color, or the saturation value, right? Okay, let's go back up to the corner, and then you'll see as I drag the color slider around, it's going to change the first value, right? So what's cool about HSL colors is that the color component, like what color it is separate from the saturation and the value, or the lightness or darkness, right? And that doesn't happen with RGB or hex values, right? So HSL is kind of cool, like for that reason. So sometimes you want to be able to create a rainbow of colors, but you want them all with the same saturation and brightness. So you can do that easily with HSL. It's a lot harder with these two. Okay, so anyway, so that gives you a range, and there's also an HSLA. So if you want to set the saturation on this HSL color, you can add that in. So maybe I'll do that here just for fun. As soon as I drag this slider down like this, maybe I'll make an orange color. You can see it changed this to HSLA, and then it gave me a fourth value that represents the transparency, okay? So anyway, so that's a quick talk on color. I hope that's useful to you. leave your notes in the comments though there, and then you can apply this to your web page. And we're going to move on and talk a little bit more about gradients, and then we'll talk about ways to use background images and these background gradients and things in your web pages. Okay, so thanks for watching.